the GST Council modes, and thereafter they followed the GST Council decisions, and thereafter later came to know that, oh, we forgot that notification has not been issued, and therefore the GST Council decision will not be followed. It is I can say a confusing law in the sense that all the problems, all the mistakes are of the assessee or a professional, but all the mistakes of the government are no mistakes, and they are immune to all their mistakes. They are facing problems with their GST, and they are issuing circulars day in day out. They are extending the time limit for their problem, but as and when the trade or the professionals request for extension of time, no consideration whatsoever has been made. After 2 years of these all haphazard implementation of the GST, what we had seen, the government is immune, not listening to anything, and then because of the shortage of fund or the dropping GST collection, or after giving rebates, almost almost finishing the 28% GST category, when there was a fall in the GST collection, they let loose the DGGI or the investigation or the anti-evasion wing of the GST department, and harass all the dealers, the professionals, and everybody. It is indeed a sad day for us that we had seen that so many professionals had been raided, so many professionals had been harassed for a genuine cause. Notices for any number of reasons, day in, day out, are issued. Friends, it is also a very sad day, because when the GST was conceptualized, or it was implemented, we thought that it is a one law, one country, what our chairman had said recently. It was a one law, one country, but that thing is gone. Now there is a jurisdiction, it can go to state authorities, it can go to central authorities. But what happens? Even if you are under the state authorities, the central authorities can visit you. Then after the visit of the central authorities, the state authorities will also visit you. Then they will issue the notices. We have to face the music from two departments. We will have to inform them, sir, on the same issue, the other department has already issued the notice. Oh, if that is so, okay, let me have a chat with the other department and we will see. Then there are state DRI, state anti-evasion, state departments, state officers. There are center departments, center anti-evasion, DGGI, and other officers. So what is happening is that the assessee has been crunched between the two departments, falling of revenue, mistakes of the implementation of GST, and the result is that there is a barrage of notices, barrage of summons, barrage of show cause notices, barrage of orders, and the arrest. Now, for anything, it is really a new concept which we are seeing, that the raids are done early in the morning. It is done at all places. You are harassed along with your family. Threatenings are made. In some cases, there has been incidents of manhandling also. And unfortunately, nobody is listening. That is a very unfortunate. We had seen a Gujarat High Court decision where a raid had continued for 7 days at one place, and only ladies were there, and in spite of it, they were not allowed. And that is the day we are facing, day in, day out, similar type of situations. Summons. We thought summons were something which was to be used very strictly, and it cannot be used casually. What we are seeing is summons are issued day in, day out to everybody. Visualize a situation. I would be coming to my PPT presentation, but visualize a situation that you are making a sale from Rajasthan to Kerala, and a Kerala authority is issuing a summon to you, ki sir, your bill is not genuine, or the transaction you had made with a Kerala guy is not genuine, and you are required to be present here and to give a statement. Visualize if you are dealing in all the states of the country, you are having business of such nature that you are dispatching or receiving goods from all over the country, and suppose all the authorities decides to question one dealer or the other and issuing notices, what you will do? Will you stop the business, or you will be attending these summons your physical presence is required. They don't accept the reply sent by you. They said no. Once we had issued a summon under section 70, yes, you are to present before us. And you does not mean you can send your authorized person, because when you send your authorized person, they put so many questions, they put so many objections, that ultimately you decide no, no, it is better we go. Friend, there are numerous issues, numerous problems, but I would say that in the March there were number of summons, number of notices issued, and they were almost being taken day in day out. But because of the lockdown and all things, everything has been postponed. We had seen the notifications where up to 30th June all proceedings had been extended. Now we will be facing the March situation. I think in the month of July or August, because the government will be pushing hard because of the drop in collections, because of the lockdown, because of everything. And so let us start with the presentation, because we adhere to the time and we will adhere to the stipulated time given to me. And only in that time we will try to complete the presentation and then take the queries. So friends, I start with my presentation with these opening remarks. And the presentation is about the notices, summons and arrest under GST. Do you see this picture? A normal trader, when he does his business and when he receives a notice, someone or anything, his mind goes like this. He is tensed. The summons are now sent by email. Summons are sent on your profile. Summons are notices are issued on your profile or email. Suppose you don't check your email, what will happen? Now that is a $1,000,000 question, because what has happened is most of the professionals, we are almost all professionals here. I had seen across the country where I'm giving lectures, that most of the professionals has given their mobile number and email IDs. And when sometimes it is not feasible for them to follow the notices or the summons received through emails. And when they are not following it, it seems that we miss the dates and a problem is created. So friends, the first advice to all professionals: never share your mobile number or email ID for a client registration or for a client portal. Every time the registration number and the mobile number and the email ID for any client should be of the client and not of a professional. Please ensure that if you had given your mobile number or your address or your email ID, then get it changed and get it changed to the client. Don't take the responsibility, because if in case there is summons or anything, notices or a letter issued by the department, and it is not replied and any problem comes, then you would be facing the problem. And you see, any notice, someone, when they are received, a normal client or the client consultant also go into a huddle, and these are the huddle. We don't want to go into the huddle. So that is the issue, and that is one of the first point I want to highlight. Never ever share your personal IDs, mobile number for a client registration. And that is one of the reason I would be coming to that topic when I would be discussing the bogus bills and other issues. And this is the slide when we say that if no notice are received, the assessment is done automatically, and we are gone through, we are working through, we are in a happy mode, we are in a jolly mode, and this is what we feel. Summons always create a issue, and with this with this graphic, I come on to the relevant provisions. Friends, I would be discussing basically section 67 to 74, rule 139 to 141, and certain forms, and the main excerpts to it only, because the time is limited, and I would be taking some practical examples how the problems are created and what are the judicial decisions regarding to the arrest, the pre-bails, the anticipatory bail or the regular bail, and what precautions you should take in such cases. Because you see, one thing you must keep in mind: the department now works not like earlier one. The department nowadays works previously. They have a ad hoc working. They don't go at random and raid your places or issue the summons. They do complete recce or pre-check, and only after the pre-check or the recce or pre-working, the notices or the summons are issued. And once those are issued, only if you give anything which is contrary, or you succumb to the pressure of the department, succumb to their good words, succumb to their sweet talks, and state anything which is contrary to record, or state anything just to set aside that moment, that would always create a problem in the long run. The only thing is, please, please, please take care whenever you make a statement. Every word counts. So what is the intention of the legislature to go for these provisions? The first intention is safeguard interest of the government. The second is check circular trading and check tax evasion. Now, certain persons would say, why are we not discussing the provisions first, and why are we discussing the reasons for the search and inspection? Friends, we all know the provisions. I would be discussing the provisions very shortly, but we have to understand the basic aspects and the practical aspects. What are the reasons for search and inspection? The first, the classification. The second, bogus bills. In the classifications, we have subcategory, that is complaint. How can a complaint be made? Suppose you are selling certain goods at 5% rate and other is selling at 12% rate, or you are selling at 12% rate, other is selling at 18% rate. There is a competition, cutthroat competition. Ultimately, and it is a matter of interpretation whether a particular commodity will fall under one head or the other. What would be the HSN code? We had seen there were some problems even with the HSN code of the mask we have to use nowadays because of the pandemic of the COVID. But that may be. The complaints are the biggest source of search and inspection. The complaints can be by your competitor, the complaints can be by a disgruntled employee, the complaint can be from an employee who you have just fired, or an employee who is still working but he is angry with you, or for any other reasons. So even martial disputes are one of the big reasons for complaints. So I would simply say that it is better not to go into a martial dispute and share the business secrets. So friends, the second is intelligence. What I had said is we should forget the old habits. Old habits means we were accustomed to the department not working with intelligence. We were accustomed to the department not savvy with their computers and all. But nowadays, the department officials are highly literate, highly educated, computer savvy, tech savvy, Google savvy. And that I always say Google savvy, because they research your product, they research your working, and only after that the issues or the notices or the summons are issued. So intelligence, prior intelligence is there, and they have a training facility. They are regularly trained nowadays. The government has recognized that training is very important, and therefore they are regularly trained. And then the biggest source of search and inspection are adverse advance rulings. What happened is, suppose a person files an application for an advance ruling. We know what is advance ruling. Whenever you file an advance ruling application, 99% of the time it is in favor of the department and against the assessee. If an authority has decided on some classification issue or a works contract issue or a taxable issue against you, on the basis of that adverse advance ruling, the department, because all the data are there in their master servers, in their computers, they can go check it out, work it out, and research the dealers who are dealing in the same commodity or the same trade or the same contracts or the same working. And then they can take the data from their computer and analyze it. And after analyzing, come to you as a search or inspection. So adverse advance ruling. Sometimes adverse advance rulings are also there to harass a competitor. I will give you an example. What happened is one pizza company was charging tax at a higher rate, and one other pizza company, though both were operating pan India, were charging tax at a lower rate. Now, because of the higher rate, the first pizza company was having a disadvantage vis-a-vis sales to the second company. What happened? They filed an application for advance authority before the advance authority for AAR, and as usual, the AAR gave the judgment that yes, the higher rate is applicable. The first company who was already charging higher rate was not affected by that uh, adverse ruling, but the second company who was charging a lower rate on the basis of the interpretation or the legal advice or its presumption was instantly raided, instantly surveyed, instantly a notice was issued, and they were forced with a big demand. So these advance rulings are also a way which can create problems. So the classification issues are very important. You have to see the bogus bills. What about the bogus bills? Uh, do you know most of the arrest throughout India, and we hear that there was a bogus bill chain of 10,000 crore. We hear that there was a bogus bill chain of 5,000 crore. We hear that there was a bogus bill chain of 1,000 crore, 300 crore, 500 crore. Why these bogus bills are issued? It is issued because of three reasons. The three reasons are: registration was very easy. Now there has been an amendment in the registration process, and Aadhaar had been made compulsory, and physical verification has been made compulsory. But prior to this amendment, which is effective from 1st April, the registration under the GST was very easy. Secondly, the registration from the pre-GST era was the transitional provision provided that the registered dealers who were earlier registered would be granted registration. That were very easy. And because of that, some people decided that it is easier to mint money by issuing bogus bills. No supply, no inward supply, no outward supply, only the bills were issued, and on the basis of that, the credits were claimed. Because the GSTR 1 was only working and 3B was only working, and 2 and 3 were suspended because of the inefficiency of the government. I would use the word, it was the inefficiency of the government, because they were not able to check the dealers, they were not able to reboot, they were not able to give a robust system, so that 2 and 3 were there. If there was a robust system, then these bogus bill issue was not there, could not have been there. But because of the inefficiency of the government, 2 and 3 were suspended, and because of it, some people decided that it is very easy to mint money, and they created a chain.
I just give our information, sir. We
Yes.
just crossed 600 participants today. New achievement. It's now 610. Due to today's learned
Sandeep ji,
speaker.
the credit goes to the central zone, AIFTP and all.
Yeah.
Let me continue because we are
Yes, sir. Yes,
already
sir.
short of
Sorry, sir.
time,
Sorry.
and I would be so the bogus bills issue. There were some problems with the professionals also. What I had said is at the start of the my speech that uh, the giving of your email ID, the giving of your mobile number, the giving of your address creates a doubt in the mind of the department when the bogus bills cases are interpreted or researched or checked or verified. And we had came across, I would be taking those cases where some of our professionals, there are always black sheep in every profession, some of our professional for little benefit has gone and played into the hands of some bad elements. But what happens to the bogus bills? There is a mastermind chain. There is one mastermind who had created a chain of issuing of the bogus bills, and because of that, down the line, everybody is being searched, inspected, or notices are issued, and the data is already in the hands of the department. It is very easy for the department because the data mining, the artificial intelligence software, the working is there, and because of it they can know from whom you had purchased, and they can go 10 times up the chain or 10 times down the chain of your purchase or sale. And that chain is, if not verified, all the transactions are put into question. All the transactions are questioned and issued notices because of it. The second, I would be discussing this aspect later on. The second is discrepancy in the data of bill. What happens sometimes? There is a deliberate discrepancy in the data of bills. And because in the deliberate discrepancy, one bill is issued and it is created in the hands of 4 dealers. Everybody has taken credit, and ultimately when we check it out, we find that, oh, it was not eligible at all. There are some genuine transactions. You had paid the tax, you had worked properly, you had routed the transaction through a banking mode. The vendor was also good, but because of some issues, he has gone bankrupt. Now, this problem would come into this COVID area, this pandemic time. What happened? Some MSME dealers, some small dealers, some big businessmen, they will go bankrupt. They would not able to survive this pandemic. They will not be able to survive this 2-month lockdown or the partial lockdown or whatever. And we don't know the future, how long this situation would continue. Suppose you had purchased a goods of say 1 crore from a particular dealer and he could not survive this pandemic and he goes bankrupt. He do not deposit the tax. What would happen? He do not file the return. What would happen? That company goes into bankruptcy. Insolvency and bankruptcy code is invoked. The matter goes into the NCLT. What would happen? Only thing what would happen is you will suffer. This is the, I would say, the master stroke of GST. Everywhere, who is the sufferer? Ultimately the purchaser is the sufferer, the client is the sufferer, the assessee is the sufferer. And this is there was a genuine transaction, genuine purchaser and seller, because of the pandemic situation, because of the adverse circumstances, we had seen that a genuine purchase can also become a bogus purchase or ingenuine purchase. Moving on to the next slide. Now, this would be a boxing match between the department and whom? The department and the assessee, and we would be there as a referee or an umpire. The tax professionals would work as a referee or an umpire. There would be a direct, because the department wants to realize its tax revenue. Department would not give you input tax credit, and you would say, I cannot give you tax again because I had already paid the tax. So some common reasons for such you have to know, and this is what you have to advise your clients. This is what we have to deliberate with our clients in one-to-one conferences. First is false ITC through bogus bills, already discussed. Mismatch of invoices. Mismatch of invoices would come because of the reasons I told you, and because of the reasons Rule 36(4) has been postponed. The proviso has been added. But what would happen? There are certain categories of dealer who are filing monthly return. There are certain category of dealer who are filing quarterly return. Now you had an artificial restriction of 110%. What would happen? Now, even if you had paid the tax, you are sufferer. Suppose your all purchases are from quarterly dealers who are filing quarterly return, and you will be restricted with 110% of the 2A, not for these 6 months, but for the prior period and the post periods. After September, non-payment of GST, it would be a biggest problem after this pandemic. After we open, the government has already provided that up to 30th June, you can, in a staggered manner, you can file your returns for the month of February to May. But what would happen? Suppose our dealer is not able to file a return. He goes bankrupt. He goes missing. He has no funds. His business is stopped. These will be the problems of the non-payment of GST. The input tax credit, not at this stage, because up to August, you can claim 36(4) has been suspended for 6 months. But what would happen after that? In September return, you would have to give a cumulative reconciliation. And the government knows that you cannot give a cumulative reconciliation. You will have to pay a good amount, and that would be a biggest problem for the dealers. Refund claim of exports without payment of IGST. We had seen a massive litigation in case of exports refund. the export refunds had been withheld. The government is continuously claiming up through circulars or drives or matching concessions that the refunds are being issued. But now they had come up with a new rule that they will give you a refund only up to the 1.5 times of the value of the similar goods sold in the state, similar goods sold by the said dealer or the similarly placed dealers. I had already in the earlier presentation, when I was discussing the recent amendments in the last webinar, discussed about that rule. I would not put it there, but that rule will create a big problem. And the government knows that there are high-pitched exports where you had purchased the goods for say 100 rupees and you are selling the goods for 800 rupees and you are claiming a refund. In that cases, they had put a restriction of 1.5 times, and that is a big issue, and that would create a big problem for everybody. Then the excess claim of ITC and the issues relating to RCM. These would be the issues. Excess claim of ITC is 110%. Sometimes we, not to pay the tax, we put a purchase or anything. RCM, there is always a contentious issue whether we have to pay the tax or not. These are the issues which are being data mined by the department regularly, and because of these data mining, the department, on the basis of their data mining, on the basis of their artificial intelligence, and I can say all these data mining is not done by the state GST department. All these data mining are done by the central GST department. They have the backend support, they have the countrywide support, they have all the tools to help with them. What the state GST department is doing, state GST department data mining is very weak because the central teams are not giving them the backend support, and because of it, they are hampered in their data mining activities. Once the data mining backend support is available to the state GST department, it would be a nightmare for all of us, for the dealers, because for small issues, there were innumerable notices and audits, and that would create a big problem. Now, bogus bills and circular trading. Friends, this is a graphic I am sharing with you because for the bogus bills and circular trading. Bogus bill is one issue, circular trading is another issue. Bogus bills, there is a genuine fraud committed by one of the dealer, and because of it, the other dealers have a problem. There is a genuine default by one of the dealer. But in circular trading, there is no default. Every dealer is a genuine dealer. Every dealer has paid the tax. But sometimes there is no movement of goods, or sometimes there is only addition of 0.01% or something like that. And it is for the reasons we all know. Sometimes the bank limits, sometimes to increase the closing stock, sometimes to increase the turnovers, sometimes to satisfy the condition of the stock market or the bank limits, or all, we all know. I would give you an example. There are 4 dealers, A, B, C, and D. First, I would be talking about the circular trading. A sells goods to B, B sells goods to C. Suppose A sell it in 100 rupees, B add it and sell it at 101 rupees. C adds 1 rupee again, sell it for 102 rupees, and D again sell it to A, and it is sold at 103 rupees. At every place there is a value addition. Every place the dealers are genuine. At every place the tax is paid. At every place the tax payment is verified, but there is no movement of goods. Can it be said to a genuine transaction, or can it be said to a circular trading? The department say if there is no movement of goods, it is a circular trading. We say that there is no requirement that there should be a physical movement. Sometimes there are contracts where the movement is costly and we get the goods to be remained at one place and only do the value additions. Because the government is getting the tax, there is no question of bogus entries or anything, and in such cases the department should not invoke the provisions of GST. It is a issue in the income tax also, the circular trading. It is a issue. We have many judgments under income tax law also on these points. We will be seeing, as soon as the GST is developed, we will be seeing. But because of the circular trading, some arrest has been made. And when we are arguing the bail petitions before the Honorable High Court or the district courts, we are faced sometimes with a problem that those are not tax codes and they do not understand the nuances of the tax laws. And the nuances of the tax law create a problem. The second issue is the dummy form or the bogus bill. Suppose in this case, A is a bogus form. He has issued bills of 500 crores to B. B has issued the bills to C and D cumulatively. What would happen if the A is caught or B is caught? The inspection and search would be there at C and D. And what the authorities are now doing, it can go to A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. Down the line, it can go. And what the authorities are doing, they are asking everybody that because you had purchased from a dealer whose antecedents are not verifiable, and or the dealer from whom you had purchased had also purchased the good from a back dealer who had defaulted or who is a bogus dealer, in such cases, you have to pay the tax and interest. Now they are asking the tax and interest from 5 dealers. So on a transaction of 100 rupees, every 5 dealer chain is paying the taxes. And what happens ultimately? Ultimately, we see the department who should have realized the tax at one stage and given credit to the others is realizing the tax at 5 stages. And that is through coercion, through pressure, and through the stick of the arrest. I would be discussing the arrest provision shortly and would be saying that what would happen to such cases. Then there is a question of bill sold. What about the bill sold? Do you know what is bill sold? The question is, bill sold is that they are done in mainly in the trade of FMCG, the tobacco, the cigarettes, or such goods. What is there? The shopkeeper, we are purchasing the goods from a shopkeeper and we are not taking the copy of the bills. What is being done normally, sometimes the cases are there. The goods are sold to some other person and bills are sold to some other person. The transaction is genuine. The purchases are genuine. The input tax credit chain is available. But what had happened is the person to whom the bills are sold, he had not taken the physical delivery of the goods. And the person who has taken the physical delivery of the good, the bills are not issued to them. And they are ultimately tracked. How they are tracked? It is anybody's guess. Because the intelligence is there, because the questions are there, because there are many issues where, because of the raid at one place, dealer give a statement that, oh, we had not purchased the good, but we had purchased the bills from XYZ. And in such cases, the inquiry comes back to XYZ and then the complete chain is cleared. Friends, that is again a big issue. And that is what we will have to see. That is what we will have to discuss. And these are the topics which are anybody's thing. And what are the consequences? What are the consequences? Think, and think. This is a slide which I always love it. And with a bad mouth, with a sad mouth, we always go and think. And what are the consequences? They force you for an admission in a statement when a search or inspection is there. They force you to admit that yes, you had purchased only bills. They force you to admit that yes, you are doing a circular trading. They force you to admit that yes, you had only purchased the bills and the physical goods had moved to other person and you had not received the physical goods. Please see. First of all, I always say, we always professional advice that the client should not indulge in such type of activities. We should be genuine. We should pay our tax as per law and we should always follow the law. But don't give a wrong statement. If you are doing genuinely, if you are working properly, if you had received the goods, if you had received the bill, though from a bogus dealer, but you had received the bill along with the goods, in such cases, don't succumb to the pressure of the department. The department officials, they play bad and good. You have seen some movies where there are sweet and sour statements, bad and good modus. One cop becomes bad, one cop becomes good. Don't come into that uh, thing. We have to understand, we have to see and state what is correct, what is as per law, and what we are doing. And we have to suggest our clients, don't go beyond the provisions of law, but don't be afraid of the provisions of law. And if you are not afraid with the provisions of the law and you are doing correctly, you will not be forced or you will not be pressurized like this. There is always a pressure on the departmental officials to get a collection if there is a search or inspection. And they ask you to instantly reverse through DRC 03, whatever the input tax credit is lying in your credit ledgers. And they would push you that please reverse it immediately on the basis of the amounts which they feel or which they find that they are not correct. And there is a discrepancy in that. Friends, I would always say, don't do it. They always push that give us a check, otherwise we will take you for arrest. You should know what are the provisions of arrest, whether they can arrest you. If you are right, don't admit. If you are right, don't succumb to the pressure. That is the motto which I always push it out. Reversal of ITC, they always do it. And the biggest loss is, we in this era, we have to be updated with the accounting. We are seeing many cases have come to me. We are seeing that most of the people, they do not do their accounting for 5 days, 10 days, 1 month. They go with a partial accountant. They are not tech savvy. They are not maintaining the accounts in a proper manner. They have a part-time accountant which is coming once in a month or twice in a month or thrice in a month. Forget those things. We have to learn it ourselves. We have to ask our clients, do it regularly, do it daily, update it daily or alternatively, and do not work with a loose paper. Do not work with an estimate. Do not have a rough noting pad in your paper, because you will have to justify it. What are the loose papers? What are the accounting modes? What are the things? Because that are the major source of worry. What can be the way ahead? I am saying simply the way ahead, because we cannot discuss in detail. The way ahead is consistency in the statements. Whatever statement you are making, make it correctly as per law and as per your business practice, and do a consistency in the statement. Always ask for a copy of the statement you had given. Even if they do not give it to you, you, as soon as the search or survey or inspection is over, you write it down from your memory on a blank paper and consistently follow that statement. Admission, if you are making an admission, it should be with caution. Friends, I had many cases where what the people have said, yes sir, we had purchased the bills and the goods had come from other persons. Is that right? What would be the veracity of the such admission? You are not making a non-compliance under GST. You would be facing a severe action. You would be facing a severe action under Income Tax Act also in a future, because with that type of a statement, what you are doing is that you are purchasing the goods from other, you are purchasing the bills from other, and you are making cash transactions. Now, if you are purchasing a bill and you are giving a statement that you are purchasing a bill, and don't come into the sweet talks of the department. Sometimes they say that, oh, if you will give this type of statement, we will not levy any penalty. We will not arrest you. We would try to be lenient with you. We will leave some loose papers. We would not take consideration of the other actions. Don't come into those sweet talks. Do what you are doing genuinely. Don't evade the tax. Don't bypass the law, but don't make a wrong statement only to buy peace for a short time. Your one wrong statement, maybe you can buy a piece for a short time, but what would happen? It would create a big problem for you in future. It would create a ruckus for you in future. And therefore, know what an admission is and what are the repercussions of an admission. It is not the repercussion under the GST Act. The repercussions can be under the Enforcement Directorate, repercussion can be under the Income Tax Act, repercussion can be under the Money Laundering Act, and in certain cases, other laws can also be levied. So please, I always say to all professional brothers, to all clients, to everybody, be safe, be cautious. If you are not able to say anything, say I am not in a state to state right now what I should say. Be cautious for that. And even if, suppose you had made a statement, what can be done then? If you had made a statement under pressure, under coercion, what can be the pressure? If you are having a partnership firm and there is a lady partner, you would have no option but to succumb to the pressure of the department. If you are having a private limited company and you have a lady director, oh my God, you have no other option. If you are seized with problems, there are many problems. If you are having a proprietorship firm and the husband is doing business but the proprietor is the wife, what can be done? Can you visualize those situations? Always think before, nowadays, always think when you make a lady a partner, proprietor or a director in a firm. It is not easy. All the departments know it. We also know it. And you are the weakling at that stage. And that is what you have to see. Retraction. Now, retraction, how it can be done? Retraction is something which is to be made at the first given opportunity. There is a common question which comes into picture. Sir, can we call our lawyer at the time of survey? What would be the benefit? If you call your lawyer or your consultant or your advocate or your chartered accountant or your tax practitioner during the survey, first of all, the department would not allow it. There is a clear-cut High Court ruling that there is no department is justified in refusing the entry of the tax consultant or advocate or chartered accountant or tax practitioner during the course of the proceedings. And they have no right to go. Secondly, even if they allow it, sometimes they allow it. And that is done with a tactical scenario. Because when they allow it, they get your statement countersigned with your advocate or a consultant or the tax practitioner or a chartered accountant. And then that retraction of the statement becomes very difficult. They can always say, sir, they had consulted your advisor, they had consulted their chartered accountant, they had consulted their advocate, and then after all verifications had given that statement. So what my advice is, even if your client says that please come during an inspection, search or survey, do not go. Your going will not help it. Your help would come only after the survey is finished or the search is finished. You're going at that time. In my opinion, there can be contra opinion to that. But in my opinion, that can become a big problem for everybody. And then again, coming back to the main thing, retraction. Retraction should be made at the earliest, immediately, and in a proper manner. Retraction should be made by a written document. It should be emailed. It should be through an affidavit if possible. It should be with the circumstances. It should be with the reasons. And it should be given to the proper authority or the superior authority with the reasons why that statement was made and what was the coercion. Friends, the question is, what about after the survey? What can be done thereafter? What we have to take care? What we have to do if the notice are issued, if the summons are there? What are the summons? Summons are under section 70. Summons are to produce documents, summons are to produce the account statements, to produce the details of the last 3 years, and to tender statement. Normally they always add to tender statement. Can you go before the authority to tender statements without any preparation? Can you go before the authority to give statements willfully and do not prepare, do not discuss with your consultant, do not discuss with your advisor, do not discuss with your chartered accountant, do not discuss with your advocate, and go and give a statement? Because once you give a statement, that becomes the the base for all the proceedings. And therefore, my friends, I say that reply or giving statements to the notices or summons are very important. Deep preparation is needed, deep working is needed, and always be cautious. Always be cautious to answer. What we have seen, the department issues you a summon under section 70. They ask you that the authorized person should be there. What do you mean by authorized person? Not your manager. They normally seek the presence of the partner or the proprietor or the director or the managing director. Those certain guidelines had been issued by the CBIC, and those guidelines are in the PPT. Because I would not be able to complete my presentation, I would be sharing the PPT. I had already shared the PPT in the chat box, and I would be sharing the PPT in the various groups. And I would again at this juncture request all to join the webinar group so that we can continue to update you and give you good webinars. But if you are not able to go to the department, or if you go to the department, they give you a mental pressure. They try to play with you, not only legally, but also psychologically. And you have to be prepared. Please note that while giving statements, you are alone there. Your consultant would not be there. Your chartered accountant would not be there. Your advocate would not be there. Even if you file a writ and ask the High Court, please allow our consultant to be there. There are contrary decisions. So don't be afraid. Don't. We have to prepare for it, and we have to take utmost care while giving of reply or summons. Arrest, I would be skipping it right now, because in case of arrest, there are two options. You can go for an anticipatory bail, or you can go for a regular bail if you are arrested. Anticipatory bail under 438 is moved when, in the case when you anticipate arrest, but you are not arrested. But a regular bail under 439 is moved before the competent court if you are arrested. And what my chairman, my president, Shri Ganesh Purohit Sahab, in his opening remarks had told you, that we should be prepared for 90 days. Sir, I recall an incident. Once a client came to me. Sir, what would happen? I had been involved in the bogus bills. Manega, you had done a very wrong thing, and that is contrary to the law, and you should be punished for that. No, sir, we know, but what would happen? Manega, you would be arrested, you would be prosecuted. Sir, after the arrest, how would the timelines move? Manega, if you are arrested, we will file an application for bail before the DJ. It is likely to be rejected, then we will file a bail application under 439 before the High Court, and it will take time. Okay, sir, but how much time? I was surprised. I was flabbergasted. What he is asking. Manega, by minimum is 3 months, but it can stretch to 9 months, because the charge sheet would be filed, and only after that the High Court may consider. But it is a probability that in 6 to 9 months you will get a bill. Oh, sir, I am ready for 1 year. Can you think? These type of people are issuing bogus bills, and genuine dealers are there. Genuine dealers are there who come into their clutches for some short-term profit, and that should not be promoted. Never it should be promoted. And that is the way we should work. We should work to advise. We should work to advise that it should not be done. Friends, there are some sections. Section 67, I would be skipping because the time is almost over. I would be taking, with the permission of my chairman, only 5 minutes more to complete. Though as a moderator and of all meetings, I always call for time limits. But I can take liberty of 5 minutes from my chairman, and I would be skipping these sections. 67 are the relevant sections. Then the summons are issued under section 70. They are normally issued for evidence, produce document, or any other thing. They are all things. Section 71 is there for various issues and what the person has to produce before the authority, and what the authority can do. Then there are judicial proceedings. They are considered as a judicial proceeding, and the relevant sections are mentioned in that. And I had giving the reference to certain sections. Section 193 of false evidence, section 228 is insult, interruption of public servant during proceedings, and they are offenses punishable with fine or imprisonment or both. And there are certain sections of IPC which can also be invoked, but I would be skipping. There are guidelines by the CBIC. I would be skipping. And the issuance of notice. Now, what the department does, they issue your notice under section 73 or 74. 73 is non-willful, and 74 is a willful default. In case of willful default, there is a higher penalty. In case of non-willful, 73, you can escape the clutches in a shorter version. Friends, that would be again take time. I had given it in under my PPT. I would request that you come, but there is an ITC restriction, and that is very important. That is thing which you have to consider. Order passed under section 74, then you cannot claim ITC. If the order is passed into section 74, it is a double whammy, and you cannot pass claim ITC. Demand is quantified and it has to be paid, and as per section 17.5, the ITC will not be allowed for it. Arrest. Oh, in case of arrest, what can be done? And these are the certain areas where for which the arrest can be made. That is supply of goods without issue of invoice, fake invoices, collect tax but fails to deposit for more than 3 months. Friends, I came to a very interesting case. In the month of September 2019, one of a car dealer came to me. Sir, I had not paid tax from April to September. Why? Sir, we did not have funds. You are purchasing, you are selling the car, you are purchasing the amount, you have good amount of input tax credit. But we see what happens is, all people have a tendency when they are in short of cash, short of working capital, to divert the tax amount. We had seen this in the income tax TDS. We still know that part of the income tax TDS or TCS are not deposited. In PF ESI, we had seen this. Now even in GST, these type of cases are there. Everything is genuine. Everything is correct. He has intention to deposit, but he is short of funds. And what would happen after this pandemic? What would happen when we open up? This would be the provision which would create problems for everybody. You have to be very careful with these provisions. These are the arrest provisions, and you have to take care. What my chairman has said, the disputed provision which we have to consider, and the biggest provision is the amount of tax evaded is more than 5 crores. And these are some of the punishments which are provided. I would skip it. These are the words: bailable offense, cognizable offense, non-cognizable offense, and assistance. The recourse is 439 or 438. I think these are things which we have to keep in mind. Now we have to become a criminal advocate also. Friends, literally, when I told at one meeting that we have to become, we have to transfer from tax advocate to a criminal advocate, he said, Mr. Gia, don't say a criminal advocate, say an advocate practicing on criminal side. So don't become a criminal yourself. So friends, I stand myself corrected. We are not a criminal advocate. We are not becoming a criminal advocate, but we are becoming an advocate or a chartered accountant or a tax practitioner or GST practitioner. We have to work on the criminal side also. So, friends, these are the things. And lastly, 2 more minutes. I would be going fast with the Supreme Court judgments regarding the bail. There was a Sapna Jain judgment. This is the most important one. Sapna Jain judgment, anticipatory bail was allowed by the Bombay High Court. The Supreme Court gave us a finding that in cases of GST, no anticipatory bail should be granted by the different high courts. That was an observation. And because of that, almost all high courts have refused now to grant anticipatory bails. Now there is a judgment in favor of Assassin Jayachandra Aloys, that is of the Madras High Court, and I think that judgment is of our own life member, Honorable Mrs. Justice Anita Suman, and that is a wonderful judgment. You have to see. It has discussed, and they say, how can you arrest a person only on the basis of suspicion? Only on the basis of suspicion you can arrest. There is no FIR, there is no investigation, and you go and arrest a person without that, and that matter is still considering pending before the Supreme Court, and we will see whether the CRPC provisions can be invoked and whether CRPC provisions have to be followed by the GST authorities or not. Then there is a C. Pradeep judgment of the Supreme Court wherein the interim protection has been granted by the Honorable Supreme Court on condition of certain deposit. Rakesh Kumar Khandelwal of the Rajasthan High Court, that is of a regular bail under 439. It was rejected by the session judge, but on certain grounds, the bail has been allowed by the Rajasthan High Court. Then there is a Gujarat High Court judgment. In this case, the anticipatory bail has been allowed. Bharat Rani Punj, the negative judgment by the Honorable High Court, Rajasthan, where the Bharatraj Punj case, the bail has been denied. Sanjay Dhingra case is there. And Himani Munjal case, it is relating to a professional. In such cases, the bail application was rejected by the High Court, but friends, now it has been allowed by the Honorable Supreme Court. And Muhammad Yunus case, again, the bail application. And this is a very important judgment. Last, I am just concluding with this, the Punjab and Haryana High Court judgment. This is for the professionals. Whether the arrest of a chartered accountant or an advocate who had filed returns or otherwise assisted in business but are not beneficiary can be arrested. The Honorable Punjab and Haryana High Court has given a very good findings in favor of the tax professionals. And they say when they were neither partner, shareholder or firm of a company and they are not involved in directly, they could not have been arrested. And that goes into the favor of the tax professionals, advocates, chartered accountant, GSTPs and all. And friends, again, at the end, Paridhi Jain judgment is again from the Rajasthan High Court where the bail application has been allowed. He was a practicing lady chartered accountant and was arrested. What happened in this case? I was also a consultant in part of the matters in this case. And what happened? This lady created 50 to 70 forms from using her mobile number, using her email ID, and using her address. Will you do it? If you do it, you will have to go for a bail before the court. Don't do it. Don't use our address, mobile number, email ID. We are professional. We do work as a professional. We don't want to be involved as a professional. Friends, this was my presentation. I had exceeded my presentation by 8 minutes. But friends, that was a too lengthy a presentation. And I am sorry. We will be open to the queries. And I would simply say, it has been a wonderful moment for me to have discussion. And I have a discussion with over 600 participants. Over 600 from east, west, north, south, central, all over India. And I am grateful, I am thankful to all of you. Thank you, and over to you, Chairman sir.
Thank you, sir. Sir, before the Chairman sir, I just want to say that if you say this time to all the participants after this energetic session, how's the Josh? The answer will be very, very, very high, sir. Now I request to our Chairman sir for conclusion. After that, we will take the queries. Sir, please unmute the mic of Rohit sir.
Rohit sir, you have to unmute yourself. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have unmuted myself. Thank
Sir,
you.
sir.
Thank you, Pankaj ji. There had been at one time 634 participants in this webinar, and it was a very, very good clarifications and details given by you. And there had been, I've been seeing on the chat also that there had been a request that there should be a part 2 of this webinar. And I think rightly so, because as far as the provision for arrest and inspection are concerned, that in itself is a very, very large subject.
Sir, because of paucity of time, I could not cover it, and the subject was so vast.
Then there is no harm in having a second webinar on this this portion. I would only like to add few things. That once you were saying that the summons are being issued from all nooks and corners of India, asking you to be present. I was wondering that what this COVID-19 has done, that it has taught us to meet through Zoom or through virtual meetings. So why can't the AIFTP make a request to the government that for compliance of those summons, the person should be allowed to be present through virtual meetings? It can be by FaceTime, or it can be by WhatsApp meeting, or even by a Zoom meeting. And it should be treated as compliance of the summons. That is one thing. Number two, as you rightly said, that Justice Anita Sumant in that Madras High Court judgment has given a very elaborate discussion on the powers of arrest by the GST authorities, and I think it's a wonderful judgment, and I'm sure it is likely to be approved by the Supreme Court also. As you said, that you quoted that Sapna Jain's case of the Supreme Court, that was of May 2019, and when the Supreme Court says that no anticipatory bail should be granted in financial offenses, then even otherwise you will find that anticipatory bails are granted rarely. You have to make out a case for anticipatory bail, and for that you have to go with clean hands before the court. If your hands are not clean, then you are not likely to get the anticipatory bail, and anticipatory bail provisions are quite strict as far as that is concerned. As you were discussing regarding statement in the course of search, I had a lot of experience of dealing such cases, and retraction of the statement had been the norm in many of cases. But later on, various judgments came which said that the retraction is delayed. That is what the department normally used to say. It's a delayed retraction. It is a prompted this and that. It was to avoid the further investigation, and thought that the person agreed and he surrendered certain things. I would say that normally in course of search, there are two independent witnesses. So when you are retracting the search, make sure that you take an affidavit from those independent witnesses to say that the statement was coerced. As a matter of fact, what happens that in such cases, the searches continues for say 2-3 days or even longer. And when a statement, I have my experience that the statements are normally recorded at the late night when the person is totally exhausted. And at that point of time, the person is coerced by the officers to give a particular statement. And fortunately or unfortunately, at that time, normally those independent witnesses are also not present. This is what I'm saying in practical. And they are required to sign the statement later on in the closing documentation in the morning. And they just sign and go away. But then we can always take advantage that even if the person was not present, either let him say that he was not present when the statement was recorded, and therefore he cannot confirm whether it was coerced or not. But it is better if he says, I am present and it was coerced. Then I'm sure that coerced statement will have no evidentiary value, and it will, department will not be able to get any advantage. Then for retracting the statement, as you had rightly said, it should be done immediately, as soon as possible, and supported by an affidavit, and that should be filed not only to the authority concerned, but also the copy should be directed to the higher authorities also. So that will give you a lot of protection. So I won't take much time. I would say it was a very good webinar. It was a record attendance of 634, and Pankaj ji has given a very elaborate details of the subject. And as was requested in the chat that there should be a part 2 of this. I request Pankaj ji to arrange a part 2 of this, and I congratulate Central Zone and team of the Central
Thank you,
Zone,
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Polly and
Thank
Mr. Agarwal, for arranging such a beautiful webinar. And it's a very well attended webinar and very well addressed webinar. I
Thank you, sir.
congratulate all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Sandeep, I would be taking over now with the queries because I have the
Sure, sir. Sure,
power
sir.
to
Sure,
unmute it. So first I would be taking over to Jaiprakash Jain. Mr. Jaiprakash Jain, if you
Yes,
are
good
there.
afternoon, sir.
Yes, sir. Go on, please.
Sir, in financial year 17-18, ITC claimed as IGST instead of CGST and SGST. So what is the
Yes.
remedy for that?
At present, there is no remedy if you had claimed it wrongly in IGST. And whether you had filed the annual return or a reconciliation,
The annual return is pending for this only.
annual return is pending for this only. You will have to go and mention it with putting a note in the and claim it as CGST, because otherwise at present there is no recourse. Or then, or you what you can do is you can file an application before the jurisdictional authority, and in such case, if it is not done and if the amount is more than, file an writ petition before the court to allow the changes.
Okay, okay.
Mr. Navneet Arora.
Thank you, sir. So my question is, who is the proper officer who can initiate the proceedings of arrest, and where the dealer will kept after the arrest, and after getting the bail for quantification, the case will revert to the GST authorities?
See, the proper officer is as mentioned in section 68-69, and secondly, where the person would be taken. See, normally the person is taken to the GST office, because as per the provisions mentioned in under the GST Act, the power has been given of police to the GST authorities, and you will have to be produced before the competent magistrate or your jurisdictional magistrate within the stipulated time, that is 24 hours. And thereafter, on production, the judicial magistrate can either remand you again to the GST authorities, or can you send you to the judicial custody. After the bail is granted on certain conditions of the bail, you can move out. And thereafter, all the proceedings would be continued by the GST authorities.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Smith Saurabh.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Hi, Smith bhai. Good to see you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I must say that it's a fantastic session, sir. In fact, I am practicing in income tax department, but always been thinking that what is the philosophy? There is not a provision to revise a return under GST Act. Always, sir. Always thinking, sir.
No, we cannot say that there is no provision to revise the return. There is no provision to revise 3B. But corrections, certain corrections of GST R1 can always be made in the next quarter or the next month, whatever the case. For 3B, for 3B, they had not opened it, and there are certain reasons for that. But that is a policy issue. I cannot comment on that. Sabyasachi. Sabyasachi. Are you there, Mr. Sabyasachi?
Next, please.
Okay, Manoj Agarwal, GST Sati.
Yes, good afternoon, sir.
Yes, sir, Manoj bhai, you are a knowledgeable person yourself.
Sir, learning from you, sir.
Sir, yes, go on.
Sir, in summons proceedings,
Yes,
the department invariably record the statement of the taxpayer, the person
Yes.
summoned.
yes.
But normally they never give the copy of the statement. The copy is always given at the time of show cause notice only.
Yes.
How can we obtain a copy during inquiry stage?
That is a problem. A very valid question and a very genuine question you had raised, and it will benefit all. Friends, what we do is, as soon as the statement is taken, on the next day, we file an application for a certified copy of the statement. They take that application also with problem, but we force it and we send it by email also to them. And after 2 days, again a reminder is given to them. After 2 days, again a reminder is given to their immediate superior authority, and then go to the commissioner, the principal commissioner, and give a reminder. You will get a copy instantly.
Okay.
If you create a paper trail. If you create a paper trail, you can get a copy of it.
And sir, hello.
Yes.
Sir, in service tax regime, there was some circular that for regular information, department should not give summons, but there is no such circular in GST to my knowledge, sir. So can we, from AIFTP, we can make a representation?
Yes, sir. I think the competent person of AIFTP are here. They will make the representation, and on behalf of Central Zone, our National Vice President Rajesh Mehta is here, and I would ask him to ensure that this representation is made. You should also contact Rajesh Mehta, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
With this, I'm moving to the next, Hari and Company, Ballari.
Sir, my
Yes.
is you have told that if tax has not been paid for more than 3 months, arrest notice can be issued under section 69. In case of excess ITC, I have not filed the return. My dealer has not filed the return for more than 3 months. In such case, arrest can be made.
Excess ITC, I think arrest cannot be made because the limit of 5 crores would not be there. But there are many other consequences. So you should ensure your client that he file the return, because you can be faced with a dilemma, because your customers would not get ITC if you do not file the return.
I will file GSTR 1. I will not file GSTR 3B. In that case, example.
In that case also, the question of interest would arise, and secondly, the other provisions, because even the return not filing, if the notice are issued under section 74 to you, you think in the circumstances when if the notice are issued under section 74 to you, then the rider of 17(5) would come into picture and the ITC can be denied. Don't take such type of chances. Thank you.
Okay. Sir,
no cross questions, please.
No, not cross questions, sir.
Mr. Maladi, Srinivas Rao, Deputy President. He is a privileged man.
Thank you, sir. Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Namaskar. I am very happy to listen.
Sir, directly on the question. Directly on the question.
Sir, actually, your presentation is very good and your PPT is also excellent. That's why no questions or cross questions are there. But I am happy and I am very congratulating you conducting these type of educative programs to all over India. That is, I am thankful to you once again. Thanks.
Thanks for the support, Srinivas ji. I am opening Mr. Shambhu Gupta.
Namaskar, sir. Sir,
yes.
You advised that we should not share our ID or telephone number. But
yes,
we all are engaging in filing returns. And
yes,
for filing return, there is OTP is required.
yes,
It is not possible for us to get every time to ring and get OTP and to file the return. So what is the remedy for this such type?
Sir, I know, Shambhu bhai, we know that we had interacted several times on this issue, and that is a genuine problem. But you see now what the dealers, we face this problem, but the department is taking a different view. And when we put this matter before the High Court or the judicial courts, DJ court or the ADJ court also do not understand this problem. And they take a contrary view. Why you had put your mobile number, your email ID, how you are communicating, how you are doing this type of thing. For 50 dealers, you are giving your mobile number. I think either if we give it, we take a written confirmation from the client and try to have a paper chain by making an email communication with him. Don't ask him to send you only by hand or by pen drive. Always try to get data from the client through a proper email, and don't open his email ID with his password. Ask him to mail the details, mail the contents through the email to your email ID. Create a paper chain for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Avinash Kedia.
Sir, my client has been arrested for defrauding of this fake invoice, but he has been concurrent circular transaction, and he has been taken into consideration. He is the mastermind of the fraud.
Yes.
And we have already moved a bail petition before the Honorable Odisha High Court.
Yes.
So what remedy I should take before the Honorable Court? Whether I'll be, my fraud is almost near about 4 crores only. Taxes are my 4 crores. but they are insisting on more than 50 crores.
No. If the tax is less than 5 crore, then only on that ground you will get the bail, because there are certain judgments which says that if the tax aspect is less than 5 crores. What has happened in one of my clients' case? There was a tax aspect of 7 crores. We immediately advised our client to pay 3 crores. He deposited 3 crores, and when we argued, see the Rakesh Kumar Khandelwal case, which I had given in the PPT. In the Rakesh Kumar Khandelwal case, there was a tax aspect of over 7 crores. He deposited 2.5 crores, and that was also one of the consideration, that the amount has dipped before 5 crores, and therefore, in that circumstances, the bail should be allowed. Mr. Kundan Gupta.
Thank you, sir.
A young man from Delhi.
Sir, good afternoon, sir. Pankaj sir, good afternoon.
Gundanji, good to see you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sir, I have 2 questions regarding to GST. One of my client has received the notice under section 70 of Central GST Act.
Yes.
And my client have received the notice from 2 zones, because they belong to Delhi, and there is a 5 or 4 zone, and received the notice from West zone and North zone also. Can I proceed and same both zone, or any one of them?
No, see, section 70 is a summon, and nowadays we should forget the term notice. There are one thing is letter, one thing is the summon.
We have received the summon, sir. We have received the summon.
So for the summon, if they are for the same transaction, because for multiple transaction, multiple invoices, multiple purchase, multiple authorities are there, and they can issue summons for multiple transaction. It is not required that only one summon per client by a jurisdictional authority is required. Suppose you had purchased, that is what I told you. Suppose you had purchased the goods from a Hyderabad authority, Hyderabad dealer, and suppose he is a bogus dealer. So Hyderabad authority can also issue you a summon. So if 2 authorities has issued the summon for the same transaction, because they have to mention the detail.
Same transaction, sir.
Same transaction, then you make a complaint to the principal authority, principal commissioner, and write a letter to them through email that we had received, please advise where to go. Or don't ask the client to be present, through a wakalatnama. You can appear as an advocate and ask the authority, which authority, from where we had to present ourselves.
My second question is, sir, I have filed the refund case in authority, and they have rejected due to violation of notification number 40 of 2017, and he has rejected. Because of that, he said the goods have been exported, the registered recipient shall provide the copy of shipping bill, and which the registered recipient shall not provide the copy of shipping bill to the department, so that we are you have violated such notification, therefore your refund is being rejected. Yes. What can I proceed, sir?
I think in this case it is better to approach the High Court, because in you can always take a pleading that in case of export the refund is automatic, and the export
every document the department has checked and verified, and it is found to be correct, 100% correct.
You
the
check
department is
just a minute, Kundanji. You have to check it on IceGate. If the IceGate is matching,
every document is correct, sir.
Then
so IceGate, every document is correct.
Okay, then we can move to the High Court only. That is the remedy. Now, Avanisha.
हेलो.
Yes, Avanish.
सर मेरा क्वेश्चन ये था कि एक्चुअली नवंबर में कैंसिलेशन का नोटिस आया था क्लाइंट को कि यू हैव नॉट फाइल्ड द रिटर्न. उसके बाद क्लाइंट ने फाइल कर दिया था, बट ही वाज नॉट प्रेजेंटेड टुवर्ड्स द डिपार्टमेंट. Or in the month of March, they have cancelled the registration number because of client was not presented before the department. So is it valid reason for cancellation, sir?
Yes, they can cancel the registration if the returns are not filed. What you have to do is you have to approach your jurisdictional authority, file the return, and then file a revocation of cancellation application before the jurisdictional authority. And yes,
sir, at the time of we have filed the return till the February, January, when we were trying to file a return of the February, that time we come to know that they have cancelled our number. No doubt, it was not appear before the department, but he has filed the return till the date.
even then you will have to file a revocation application, go to your jurisdictional authority, and he would revoke it. It is a very common thing.
Okay, okay.
Mr. Anup Kumar. Mr. Anup Kumar.
भैया हम कहाँ से पैसा देंगे, हमको जो देना है।
अनूप कुमार जी।
तू बोलिएगा कि आप दे, तो आप जानिए।
मनोज कुमार मित्तल धनबाद।
सर गुड मॉर्निंग सर।
Yes, sir.
मेरे क्लाइंट ने, my client has purchased some capital items in the financial year 17-18.
Yes.
He is also a registered GST dealer, and from whom he has purchased the item is also a registered dealer.
Yes.
But mistakenly he has not given his GST number to the purchaser, to the seller. But he has taken the input credit of the against that invoice.
Okay.
So now what?
Now in that case, nothing can be done, because if he had not mentioned the detail in GSTR1, then you cannot claim the credit, because that credit would not flow. Again, in all such cases, what Manojji, the remedy is, if the amount is substantial and it is not quantifiable, move an application before the authority as a representation, move an application to the principal commissioner, and if it is not done, then you have to approach the jurisdictional high court, file a writ petition under Article 226, and if you had made the representation, moved an application, the jurisdictional high court, because in that case there is no loss to the department, may allow and issue the directions.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Anil Vakharia.
Sir, what is the fate? Yes, sir.
Yes.
Sir, what is the fate of Tran 1 credit? Because in a lot of cases it is pending, and Bombay High Court is giving the reverse decisions, whereas the other High Courts is in favor of the SSE. And a lot of SSEs have not filed Tran 1, but taken the credit in the returns. What will happen about it?
Anilji, a very fantastic question. You see, this Tran 1 is the bread and butter of the professionals. We had, alone in Rajasthan, we had filed almost 1,000 writs on Tran 1, and substantial part is also filed by me. So that is a good bread and butter, and that controversy. We always say the controversy should go on, because if the controversy dies, what we can do? Okay.
Right.
So a contrary decision, we are waiting a decision from the Supreme Court very shortly, because in the month of February, on 3rd March or something, this Tran 1 matter was listed before the Supreme Court in one of the cases, and we were expecting that there would be a decision from the Supreme Court. Even in Rajasthan, we have an adverse decision which says that do you file a representation before the GST authorities from the principal seat at Jodhpur. But we are expecting a good decision at Jaipur. We had argued some cases, but because of this COVID pandemic, now we can always, in cases where the benefit has not been claimed, I would advise that file a writ petition before the High Court. Ultimately, the benefit would be granted either by a circular from the GST authorities or the Finance Ministry, or from a decision of the Honorable Apex Court. Mr. Raghuveer Singh Punia. भाई साहब, आप तो खुद ही विजार्ड हो, मतलब हमको कहाँ आप क्वेश्चन पूछ रहे हो?
पंकज जी, भाई साहब, ये जो क्रिमिनल प्रोसीजर कोड के तहत प्रोसीडिंग चलेगी और जीएसटी के ऑफिसर्स पुलिस के पावर है उनके पास, तो क्या वो डीलर को अपने अगेंस्ट एविडेंस देने के लिए बाइंड कर सकते हैं? और दूसरा, कोई सर्च के लिए कोई गाइडलाइन भी है क्या कि वो रात को नहीं कर सकते, या कोई भी गाइडलाइन?
देखिए, सर्च के लिए सीबीआईसी का एक गाइडलाइन है जिसमें सर्टेन पैरामीटर दिए हुए हैं. रात को सर्च स्टार्ट नहीं कर सकते, बट वन सर्च इज स्टार्टेड इट कैन कंटिन्यू. ठीक है. दूसरी बात, उनकी जो पुलिस की पावर दी हुई है वो अरेस्ट के लिए दी हुई है, और नॉर्मली कोर्ट में अगर रिमांड के लिए जाते हैं दूसरे दिन उनको जुडिशियल कस्टडी में भेज दिया जाता है. तो जहां तक अरेस्ट के पावर्स हैं वो उनको दिए हुए हैं, और उसमें देयर इज नो डाउट अबाउट इट, एंड दे कैन इन्वोक दोस पावर्स, एंड दे आर invoking those powers. As far as your first question, as far as your first part of the question limb was there, can you be forced to give evidence against you? No, you cannot be forced. But once you had given, and even if you had given adverse admission against you, if you had not retracted, then it would be taken into consideration. Sir, we can move on to Mr. Vikas Mittal.
Hello.
हाँ विकास जी बोलिए.
Sir, very good morning. So just I want to make one suggestion that the recording of the session should also be made available.
Sir, it is made available. Join the group which has been given in the chat mode, and the recording of the webinar of all webinars as well as the PPTs are being shared in the group. There is a chat mode in that WhatsApp group is there. Please join.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Mr. JP Dhiman.
Good afternoon, sir. I am JP Dhiman from Mohali, Punjab.
Yes,
so
sir.
my queries, sir, it has two parts. First is that can I pay RCM on account of year relating to year 17-18 now? If yes, then in which year I will be allowed the credit? Because I have already submitted the annual return as well as the form 9C. For 17-18.
There is a limitation for claiming of credit if you had not claimed the credit in the specified, and the time was extended. I think for the 17-18 time was extended up to March 2019. And if you had not taken the credit, if you had not
I did not pay. I did not pay the tax even rather. RCM.
If you had not paid the RCM, but even
can I pay now? Can I pay now, right now?
You will have to pay. See, the question is whether you will be required to pay or not. There is no question. You will be forced to pay, and that too with interest. So you should pay that because the interest meter is going, and interest is at 18%. In these times when the bank gives you 5%, it is not wise that you are continuing your liability. But claiming of input tax credit, that would be doubtful. Again, you will have to represent to the authorities and go roundabout.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Satyanarayan Chechani.
Yes, sir. Hello.
हाँ सर चेचानी जी.
हाँ सर, इसमें दो एक जो आपने ये बताया सर्च के केसेस में और इनमें जो बोगस बिल का जो मैटर चल रहा है उसमें दो तरह के केसेस हैं. एक तो एक्चुअली जिसमें बोगस बिल्स होते हैं और एक कोई जो सर्कुलर ट्रांजैक्शंस होते हैं जिसमें 1, 2, 3, 4 और अपना क्लाइंट अगर पांचवा है, उसने बिजनेस भी किया है, मटेरियल भी लिया है और उसके पास फाइनली चेन के रूप में लास्ट में एक वो बिल आया है जिसकी इनपुट क्रेडिट फर्स्ट पार्टी ने जमा नहीं कराई है. इन दैट केसेस वो सारी पार्टीज को समझ देते हैं, सभी में डिमांड क्रिएट करते हैं और सभी को हेरेस करते हैं. तो इन दैट केस अगर फर्स्ट या सेकंड पर्सन का डिमांड अगर क्रिएट हो जाती है तो क्या फिफ्थ, फोर्थ या फिफ्थ, सिक्स्थ जिसने मूवमेंट भी किया है, गुड्स का मूवमेंट भी किया है, तो
I got your point. I got your point. The question is that what they do is they proceed under section 74, and under section 74 the rider of section 17(5) comes into picture, and that rider is that in input tax credit would not be allowed. It is barred. So that is the mockery of the law, and that I put up before you. It was short time, but I said that is the mockery of the law. They for the tax of 20 rupees, they realize 120 rupees.
Yeah.
And that is the mockery of the law. But they deliberately proceed under section 74 in such matters. Mr. Ashwin Tanna.
Yes, sir. You rightly said when I am filing the return, I should give a by chain or reply the approval of the return. I have prepared it. Once he approved it, I'll be exhausting my liability, sir.
Agreed, sir. Agreed.
Yes, it should be done, sir, everywhere. The chain of
thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Mr. Amit Goyanka. Amit
Yes,
ji
sir.
is a regular one. Amit ji is a regular
Yes,
one.
sir. Yes, sir. So my query is simple query that on the basis of legal opinion, if someone has charged a wrong classification he has done, and whether he is liable to pay penalty also along with interest. Interest is admissible.
See, it depends. See, in the GST Act, if the notice before issue of a show cause notice, a letter is issued. If you admit it and on the basis of the letter, if you pay the amount, then in such cases, the aspect of penalty can be considered. And in such cases, tax and interest.
Because he has charged the tax on the basis of legal opinion only.
That is right, but there are proceedings under section 73 and 74. If the proceedings are initiated under section 73, 3 and 5, then in such circumstances you go on voluntarily to deposit.
Right. Right, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Sitaram Khandelwal.
सर कवर हो गई भाई साहब मेरे पहली
हो गई भाई साहब, जय हो सीताराम जी की.
थैंक यू.
Mr. Sankalp. Sorry, Mr. Sankalp.
Sir, is there any guideline for receiving the reasons to believe for issuing the summon, search proceedings, and taking the proceeding sheet, copies of the proceeding sheet?
There are no specific guidelines. It differs from case to case. And for the reason to believe, you see, the latest NDTV case should be considered by you, wherein the Supreme Court has quashed the reassessment proceedings. That is a very landmark judgment, and you should see to it.
Sir, one more thing.
Yes.
Is there any remedy for taking the proceeding sheet copy and the
Yes,
copies
you
of the...
file representation once, twice, thrice to the junior authority, to the superior authority, and in case they do not give, file a letter to the principal commissioner that if you do not receive the copy within 7 days, we will be filing a writ petition, and this may be considered as a notice for demand of justice.
Okay.
Normally they give it, and if you do not file a writ petition, then.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. SP Sharma.
सर नमस्ते.
नमस्कार.
मैं दो चीज जानना चाहता हूँ. एक तो हुआ कि कोई भी सर्च एंड सीजर केस में डीन का आवश्यक होता है या नहीं होता है. अगर डीन का आवश्यकता होता है तो
सर सभी में डीन की आवश्यकता है अब तो.
जी.
मैंडेटरी.
तो उसमें जी 20 जनवरी को मेरा एक 20 जनवरी 2020 के दिन में मेरे एक क्लाइंट के यहाँ सर्च एंड सीजर हुई. लेकिन बिना डीन के. अब उस दिन जो बनी पंचनामा, उसकी कॉपी भी मेरे को नहीं दे रहे हैं अभी तक, और जो उनके पास सीज डॉक्यूमेंट है वो भी नहीं दे रहे हैं. अब इसके उपाय क्या है?
सीज डॉक्यूमेंट तो वो देंगे नहीं, क्योंकि सीज डॉक्यूमेंट दे देंगे तो आप अपना डिफेंस क्रिएट कर लोगे. तो पंचनामा देना उनके लिए मैंडेटरी है. पंचनामा वो देंगे. सीज डॉक्यूमेंट अनलेस वो अपनी प्रोसीडिंग्स, इंटरनल प्रोसीडिंग्स कर लेते हैं, सीज डॉक्यूमेंट आपको नहीं देंगे. आप उसमें ये कर सकते हो कि अगर ऐसे डॉक्यूमेंट्स हैं जो आपके बिजनेस हैम्पर कर रहे हैं, मान लीजिए आपके अकाउंट बुक्स ले गए तो आप किसी से पेमेंट कलेक्ट नहीं कर पा रहे या पेमेंट नहीं दे पा रहे, यू कैन मूव एन एप्लीकेशन फॉर दैट. बट एंड यू फाइल एन एप्लीकेशन under right to information act for the warrant and the whether DIN has been generated or not. आपकी एप्लीकेशन पर तो वो किसी भी टाइम के लिए पेंडिंग रख सकते हैं, बट राइट टू इंफॉर्मेशन में उनके एक लिमिटेशन होती है और उनको देना पड़ता है. तो ये रेमेडी भी आप टेक ओवर कर सकते हैं. मिस रितिका राजवंशी. रितिका राजवंशी, आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही. There are some problem. महेंद्र चंडालिया.
सर नमस्ते सर.
नमस्कार जी.
सर मेरी जो क्वेरी है सर, व्हाट आर द हाईएस्ट पेनल्टी लेविड बाय डिपार्टमेंट इफ द एक्सेस स्टॉक फाउंड ड्यूरिंग द सर्वे? वो सर मुझे ऐसा अपना जो पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस हुआ कि एसजीएसटी और सीजीएसटी दोनों डिपार्टमेंट की मोडस ऑपरेंडी भी बहुत अलग अलग है. एक डिपार्टमेंट अगर एसजीएसटी है तो वो सभी तरह की पेनल्टी चार्ज करता है 74, 67 एंड ऑलवेज 122 ऑलवेज. बट सीजीएसटी जो होता है सेंट्रल, वो 73 और 15% बिफोर एससीएन करके मैटर को शॉर्ट आउट करना चाहता है हमेशा ही, जो मुझे एसजीएसटी और सीजीएसटी में लगा. तो सर व्हाट आर द हाईएस्ट पेनल्टी ड्यूरिंग द स्टॉक?
देखिए, हाईएस्ट पेनल्टी इज एज प्रोवाइडेड अंडर सेक्शन 73 एंड 74. The penalties are provided and 122 is the general section. So whatever the things are, proceedings can be initiated against under those sections. The question is the restriction to the input tax credit, that is section 75. If the proceedings are initiated under section 74, then the restrictions of section 17(5) comes into picture, and those restrictions are a big hit. It is a double whammy. So in such cases, and then the arrest provisions 132, you will have to see. As far as the working of SGST and CGST, I had already told you that CGST working is far more different, because they research, do the work. SGST, they want to go for the creation of demand, and yes, there is a difference, but what can we do? There is a concurrent jurisdiction given by the government, and concurrent jurisdiction allows cross survey by the authorities. Even if you are under CGST, you can be surveyed by SGST or vice versa. We cannot do anything. Thank you, sir. Mr. Bed, I know I am cutting off somebody, but we have a lot of queries and we have extended quite of time. So I would be finishing it off in another 3 minutes. Last 3 queries I would be taking. Mr. Baidyanath Agarwal.
Yes. Good morning, sir.
Morning, Bhai Saab. Kaise hain? How are you?
Fine, thank you. I have received a notice since 73
Yes.
for delayed filing of 3B relating to 2018-19. 3B was filed after the due date on section 39, delayed by few days.
Yes.
I've been asked to pay that amount of ITC.
Yes.
The dispute, is it resolved now or not?
See, that disputes are almost resolved because in such cases where 3B has not been filed by you and the notice has been issued under section 73, the restriction of 74 does not come into picture. So, in fact, if you had filed it, you file a reply to the authority, and on the basis, you file a simple reply that 3B has been filed and annex a copy to it. And I think on the basis of that, the proceedings would be dropped.
And I filed 3B, but belatedly.
No issue. The late fee has been deposited by you for the 3B.
No, for 18-19, 3B, ITC of 18-19 claimed in the return for September 2009.
No. In that case, for 18-19, the cutoff date was 20th of October.
Right.
And you are talking of section 16.4.
Yes.
You are talking of section 16.4. Sir,
yes.
Section 16.4, nothing can be done. Section 16.4, what you have to challenge is, challenge the notice, challenge the virus of section 16.4, file a writ petition before the High Court. You should have told me specifically that you had filed the 3B after 20th October.
Okay.
That is section 16.4 and only remedy. Section 16.4 is still operative. You will not get a credit and you have to challenge the veracity of 16.4. I had filed 10 writ petitions before the Rajasthan High Court in those matters and notices has been issued already. Mr. Narendra Bibi. Mr. Narendra Bibi, are you there? I think.
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah, Narendra Bibi. Yes.
Yeah. Sir, I have 2 questions, both related to.
Narendra, you are in EY or something, no? No.
I was with EY.
Yes.
Now I am in the industry, sir.
Okay.
Thanks for giving me this opportunity.
No.
Sir, my question is on the transition credit.
Yes.
We had taken the transition credit in Tran 1 form related to education cess balance in service tax returns and the Krishi Kalyan cess. There was a recent amendment which said the education cess and this Krishi Kalyan cess is not eligible to take credit, and there was some retrospective amendment that was done, and there were few writ petitions that has been filed across the country. There was one ruling that came in the name of Sutherland in Chennai High Court, Madras High Court, that was in favor of the assessee. But even then, the authorities are insisting that we should reverse this input tax credits. So, what is your view on this, sir?
I see similar matters are going in the Rajasthan High Court also, and in this case you should file a writ petition before the court, and normally the courts are granting stay in the matter because of the rulings.
So are we eligible to continue with the credit, or should we reverse it?
See, it is if you reverse it, then you lose the right. But if you go into litigation, ultimately the matter would be settled by the Supreme Court. The department would not accept any High Court ruling and they will take the matter to the Supreme Court. That is the normal practice of the department. So if you want to, if the amount is substantial and you want to create a litigation, it is better to file a writ petition and continue to claim the credit. In other cases, you can do it. Otherwise, you pay, and in that case, you will be liable to pay interest also.
Okay, and I have a second question, sir. Yes. I have operations all across the country, and for some reason the POs are issued from the head office, and there are some common services, something like an advocate service or the chartered accountant service similar to this. The service providers would issue the credit, would issue the invoice only to the head office, but
Right.
generally these services are to be consumed across the country. In that case, basis the credit, the invoice of the supplier, if I take the credit only in the state which head office is located, is it an eligible credit, or am I mandatorily required to distribute it across the country because it's a service related to all the states?
No, if it is a service related to all the states and your books and your procedure shows it, then you have to mandatorily distribute it across all the states.
So what is the consequence in case if I don't have ISD distribution?
They will, they can disallow the partial credit, and in such cases, the other states, because the time limit would expire, they will not be able to claim the credit, and in such case, you will be suffering a loss of the partial disallowance of the credit, along with the liability of interest.
Oh, thank you very much, sir.
Mr. Vikas Palsania, Raipur.
Yeah, sir, my queries is कि I have applied for a registration under the GST, but the GST officer is deliberately rejecting the application by saying कि the uploaded photograph is not clear and the rent agreement which has been attached is not notarized by the advocate, and by showing this reason he is deliberately continuously rejecting my application. Whether it is correct, or how can we go ahead, sir?
You file a complaint to the principal commissioner and with a CC to the jurisdictional officer, and in such cases go and meet the principal commissioner directly with all the original copies of the documents. In such cases, what we had seen, that the principal commissioner act very swiftly and take action.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Mr. Lokesh Kumut. Lokesh Kumut is not here. Mr. Santosh Rath.
हेलो
हाँ संतोष जी।
सर नमस्कार।
नमस्कार, कैसे हैं?
बहुत बढ़िया सर, पिछले काफी दिन से आपको फॉलो कर रहा हूँ, अच्छा लग रहा है सर। सर मेरी छोटी सी क्वेरी है, जैसे आपने बताया था, जैसे आपने पीपीटी में दिखाया था रीजन फॉर सर्च एंड इंस्पेक्शन में, ठीक है, तो उसमें आपने 3 चीजें बताया था, जैसे चेन वगैरह सारा कुछ आपने बताया बोगस बिलिंग में, ठीक है। मेरी एक क्वेरी है, क्वेरी ये है, जैसे आपने बताया था कि जैसे 5 बंदों को डिपार्टमेंट इकट्ठा नोटिस काट रहा है, वैसे सिमिलरली वैसे ही मेरे पास एक केस है जहाँ पे एक्चुअल मोमेंट ऑफ गुड्स हुई है और उसके पास बिल भी है, जैसे नॉर्मली वैट के टाइम पे भी जैसे कहते हैं कंडा पट्टी है।
नहीं वो सब मेरे को मालूम है, आप तो क्वेश्चन पे आ जाओ सीधे।
मैं क्वेश्चन मेरा ये है कि सर इस केस में हम क्या कर सकते हैं, जबकि मेरे पास सारे डॉक्यूमेंट है और मेरे स्टॉक इन स्टॉक आउट सारा कुछ है।
कुछ भी नहीं, आप डिटेल्ड रिप्लाई दीजिए, डॉक्यूमेंट्री प्रूफ दीजिए और पूरी पेपर बुक बना के दीजिए। हमारे साथ सबसे बड़ी दिक्कत ये आती है, जो मैं देख रहा हूँ, कि we are not able to file a detailed reply along with the relevant documents and annexures and create a big paper book. And the most important thing is give the documents in support of the movement of the goods. What I had seen is in the documents for the movement of the goods, in the built-in number, the registration number of the vehicle is written, and on checking on the Vahan app of the motor department, sometimes a truck number comes to be a number of a motorcycle.
So, नहीं सर, नहीं एक्चुअली सर मैंने, हाँ सर बताइए।
In this case, what I would suggest you, give a proper reply, give a proper document chain, and explain it to them. That is the only remedy.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, last question I would be taking Manoj Sharma, Advocate Agra. Manoj Sharma, Advocate Agra.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
हाँ जी।
मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है सर, एक एसएससी का रजिस्ट्रेशन था पहले जैसे ही स्टार्ट हुआ था जीएसटी, और समहाउ उसने रिटर्न फाइल नहीं की तो वो रजिस्ट्रेशन कैंसिल कर दिया डिपार्टमेंट ने। काफी टाइम बाद अब उसने दोबारा एक फ्रेश रजिस्ट्रेशन अप्लाई किया, क्योंकि उस पीरियड में वो नील था, तो उसने सोचा कि मैं रिटर्न भी फाइल नहीं करूंगा। उसने कोई प्रोटेस्ट किया ना कुछ किया, और उस रजिस्ट्रेशन को एज इट इज छोड़ दिया जो कैंसिल किया था डिपार्टमेंट। अब फ्रेश रजिस्ट्रेशन जब उसने अप्लाई किया पैन इंडिया की वजह से, डिपार्टमेंट ने देखा, वो असेसिंग ऑफिसर ने पहले तो कई तरह की उसने क्वेरी निकाली, वो सब क्वेरी दूर कर दी, उसके बाद अब उसने नया क्वेश्चनर दिया है कि भाई आपका पुराना रजिस्ट्रेशन था वो क्यों कैंसिल हुआ और आपने उसका
मनोज जी आपकी बात सही है। अगर आप फ्रेश रजिस्ट्रेशन वापस से करते हो और पहले आपका कैंसिल हो चुका है तो आजकल डिपार्टमेंट क्वेश्चनरी करता है और आपको उसका जवाब देना पड़ेगा। इफ यू आर एबल टू सेटिस्फाई देम देन दे अलाउ यू द फ्रेश रजिस्ट्रेशन। इफ यू आर नॉट एबल टू सेटिस्फाई देम देन द प्रॉब्लम अराइजेस।
ओके ओके ओके, मतलब वो उसको पहले वाले के बारे में पूछ सकता है, या मेरा मतलब ये था कि उसकी वो सेपरेट प्रोसीडिंग्स करता रहे डिपार्टमेंट वो सेंट्रल में।
नहीं वो नहीं हो सकता। Thank you all. I would be now handing over the mic to Rajesh Mehta ji, our National Vice President, and then I would request our Vinay Kumar Jolly ji, the Chairman. Friends, it has been a very enriching session for me. Your queries have been wonderful. I had the occasion to hear such intelligent queries. I had enriched my knowledge. It had been a privilege for me to address more than 600 participants. This Zoom platform is here. We are here every day at 11 o'clock. I am now acting as a TV anchor. आप रोज आइए 11 बजे आइए और हमारे Zoom प्लेटफॉर्म पे सेंट्रल जोन की वेबिनार को ज्वाइन कीजिए और आप भी एनरिच होइए और हमको भी एनरिच कराइए। Please continue to join the WhatsApp group. WhatsApp group details had been circulated in the chat mode and in other groups also. Please join the WhatsApp group for all the information. Please continue to join daily 11 o'clock. You will be getting wonderful speakers, wonderful subject, and then the wonderful participant who can put in the wonderful queries. With this, thank you everybody. I am deeply obliged for your love and affection. Thank you. Rajesh Mehta ji.
Highly thankful to all the participants. Today, more than 680 participants had joined the program. And I am also highly thankful to Pankaj Ghia ji, who has delivered the subject in such a nice manner, and many of the things were even also useful to us in income tax proceedings also. Many of the, and he had dealt with all the queries in a very nice, excellent manner. So we are thankful to Pankaj Ghia ji also and all the participants. Thanks a lot to all. आवाज नहीं आ रही। पंकज घिया जी का माइक म्यूट है।
Sandeep Agarwal, are you there? Vinay Jolly ji, you can conclude, and I would request now the chairman to conclude that.
Thank you, Pankaj ji. Thank you. आज का सेशन बहुत ही शानदार था और आपने जो नॉलेज हमें दी है उसके लिए हम आपके आभारी हैं। मैं एक बार सभी पार्टिसिपेंट्स का धन्यवाद करता हूं जिन्होंने इतना उत्साह दिखाया और हमें भी एनकरेज किया। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। हाँ पंकज जी।
संदीप जी, you are there. I have unmuted you and mute yourself. Sandeep Agarwal.
Yeah, sir. Thank you all. Thank you all again very much. Thanks to our learned speaker today, Pankaj Ghia ji, our chairman today, sir, and all of you for patience hearing. Today, as you know, we crossed 600. I am sure in day by day, we will do much more. And thank you all. Thank you all again. And we'll
please do join tomorrow, 11 o'clock, same time, same place.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And with this, I end the meeting. If you had any queries, anything, please put in the chat box. The chat box would be open for 2 more minutes. The PPT has been shared in the chat box. You can download the PPT, add to our groups, webinar groups, and we will be sharing the video recording and the PPT in the webinar groups also. Please add yourself in the webinar group. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.